Madume ka gae nna ke Kwena Moabelo re sa re bone ka mokgo barutwana ba Afrika Borwa ba shubileng ka gona mo ditšhong tša marematlou ebile re bona ile gore go bile le dipalopalo tše di bontšhang gore barutwana ba bantši ba kgonne go tšwelela re tla be re lebeletše yona taba e le kgono le baeng ba rena ba bona le rena ka mo studiong le kgono wa mathomo e leng yena seboledi Troy Martins wa Minister of Basic Education le go tšwa Equal Education Zandile Ngubeni o tlo bolela le rena mo Equal Education Gauteng. Good evening and welcome. Let me start with you, Troy, from the minister's perspective, from the department's perspective, your general feeling about the results.
I think we're very happy, to be honest. I think, you know, there's been so much hype about this year's Matric results, and we were really not sure what the outcome would be, especially considering that we had the highest number of Matric learners ever this year in the history of our country, as well as the fact that we had high numbers of progressed learners. So from our side, we're thrilled that we have now had the highest number of passes ever in the country and the highest number of bachelor passes and distinctions. So for us, we think it's been a very good year, and we congratulate the class of 2015 for making us so proud.
Let me get clarity on two things. Why did we have the highest numbers? What prompted that? What necessitated that, rather?
Well, we've put a number of interventions in place. We have had in the past problems or challenges with retention rates of learners. We lose a lot of learners in the senior phase through dropping out for various reasons. And we believe that we've put a number of measures in place that has improved the retention rate of learners. So this is a huge positive. Also, the increased access to education. This is really the culmination of years of increasing access to education throughout the schooling system, where we now have a situation where we have almost 100% access to education for learners across the country.
As we look at the results there by province, I mean, Western Cape, Gauteng, Free State, Northwest, Mpumalanga, how important is it for us to look at the provinces and how they have done?
I think it's very important to gauge where we need to put interventions in place. You know, the grade 12 results are really an indicator of where we are in the system. They're a tool that we use to identify challenges and where we need to put interventions. And, you know, you can see, if you look at all the provinces who've shown massive improvements, we can use the best practices from those provinces and take them to the provinces, for example, like the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, who may not be doing as well as they should. And if you look at Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, those three provinces combined make up for more than half of all the learners who write the NSC in the country. So they're very important. So when they're not doing as well as they should, it affects the whole national, it affects the national average, and it really brings us all down. So we really need to look at those provinces with those big numbers. And those are the provinces with the largest number of learners. They're also the rural provinces. So it's an indication that we do need to do more to assist those provinces.
Re tla tšwela pele re boledišana le yena Troy Martins ka sebaka se ke amogela Zandile Ngubeni go tšwa Equal Education Gauteng. Zandile, from your perspective as Equal Education Gauteng, you're feeling ka di results?
We will say well done to the class of 2015. I mean, for those students who have managed to pass Matric, I can't imagine how excited they are. And it is a positive, like where there's a positive within the country, within the future of this country, we have to give gratitude. But at the same time, as Troy mentioned earlier, we need to actually go back and see where we're going wrong and how do we fix that to ensure that maybe one day we could have a 100% pass rate within South Africa. And that needs a lot of time, it needs a lot of research, it needs concerted effort from all parties.
But then doesn't it come to a point where you look at the issues of where the schools are, as Troy was mentioning, the rural schools in Limpopo, in comparison to a student that goes to a top-class school in KwaZulu-Natal or Gauteng? Does that not play a role?
That plays a very large role, where you can't have students, for instance, in the Eastern Cape who still go to school in mud schools, and then we expect them to come up with top-class results. It's impossible. Whereas where you have schools in Gauteng where, you know, infrastructure is a bit better and you can see the results. So what we need to do as a country, we need to start fixing the, you know, the rural areas and the schools that we find there. Like, we can't expect best results from situations where the learners themselves are not
what do we fix, Troy? What do we fix when you say we're fixing rural schools? Do we fix the infrastructure or the quality of education? Because I mean, my belief as somebody who matriculated from a rural school is that it's not really about the building, it's about the education.
And that's what I actually wanted to touch on. I agree with you 100%. While the infrastructure does play a role and it does assist in providing that safe haven and that learning environment, a cohesive learning environment, but it's also about the teachers, the passion that teachers have. The community also plays a huge role. Parents play a huge role. The community plays a huge role. And I think we need to focus on that. If you look at Limpopo has been riddled with challenges throughout the last few years, but they continue to consistently produce some of the best maths and science learners in the country. And these are from very rural schools. And we're seeing a difference. And when you ask learners, I spoke to a learner from Thohoyandou yesterday. He was one of our top achievers in mathematics and science. And I said to him, you know, you come from a school in a rural area in Thohoyandou, in Limpopo, where, you know, it's been in the media for a number of challenges. How do you do it? What is it? And he said, you know, we work so hard because we want to be that change in Limpopo. And that just filled me with such pride for our future. But it just shows that with the dedication of teachers, one of our top teachers comes from that area, and he just takes such pride in his work, and he really goes all out to assist learners. And I think we need to take this community aspect into education. We need parents to play an active role in their learners' education, monitor what they do. We need teachers who are dedicated and have a passion for changing the lives of young children. And then obviously infrastructure plays a huge role. We need to have access to adequate reading material, access to ICT, and these are all things that we're working on in the Department of Basic Education.
Re tlo tswela pele ka poledišano ya rena le baeng ba rena re lebeletše ka mokgwa e le gore barutwana ba Afrika Borwa ba gonne ka gona mo dithutong tša marematlou. Se sengwe se segolo se tla be re se lebeletše ke gore na go na le thušo go bao ba sa tšwelelang. Re tswela pele ka poledišano ka morago ga mo. Sa lebeletše Leihlo la Sechaba gona mo SABC 2 re tšwela pele ka poledišano ya rena ya dithuto tša marematlou. Troy, one thing that comes out is, as much as we celebrate those who have passed, who did very well, there is still that portion that did not do very well. What happens to them? Is there help for those who did not do well in their matric studies?
This is something that we are very excited about this year, is we have launched just this morning our Second Chance program, and that's specifically for learners who haven't made the NSC, learners who qualify to write the supplementary exams that would pass if they just passed 2 more subjects, for example, then they would get their pass. They need to, as of today, between today and the 13th of January, apply to write the supplementary exams. And then what we will do is there will be dedicated centres throughout the country. They need to report to their district office, register for the supplementary exams, and then they will be directed to a centre where they can get remedial support in those subjects that they need. So this is a really exciting intervention. For the first time we're doing this. It's called the Second Chance campaign, and we encourage all learners who qualify to take advantage of this opportunity. For those who haven't failed, who haven't passed, we would like to reassure them that this is not the end of the road. There are many other avenues that they can go into. And the Second Chance program is just one of them. They can repeat the year, they can decide to take a different avenue, go to a more vocational educational path by going to a TVET college, because some of those, you can go to an FET TVET college from grade 10. So there are many other options that are available to them. We want them to know not to give up. It's not the end of the road.
Zandile, is this, from equal education's perspective, something that you happy with, that there is a second chance, as they say, or second option for those who need to improve on their marks?
No, definitely. The youth needs a second chance. We right now as a country are riddled with the youth who are unemployed, who don't have skills, and who end up loitering the streets, maybe, for an instance. So a second chance by the department is definitely a good initiative. But as you mentioned earlier, communities also need to step up to the plate.
And I mean, as we look at the passes here, I mean, 2014 we had 150,000 plus bachelor passes, and now 166. So the number is really growing, which would pose a big question now to higher education.
You see, the numbers are good. I mean, an increase in numbers is always good. But now the question is the quality. The learners that are passing with their bachelors, when they go to university, what kind of students are they going to be? Are they fully equipped for the university life? That's what we need to start looking at, the quality of the education.
But then what makes you think that the quality may not be up to standard?
We see many years, I mean, through the years, you find first years who drop out of their first year because they feel that university life is too much. Whether or not, if you look at the schools that maybe they come from, sometimes that's a huge factor. So through the years, when you look at first years, you can see that there is...
Is it a question of the quality of education or maybe life skills in that when you then, from a rural school in Limpopo, from a township school in Sotho, and then you move on, you are at UJ, you are at UKZN, you are in the Western Cape. Could that play a role in that, the paradigm shift in terms of life?
It does, and that's why life skills have to be incorporated into the education system.
Now, Troy, looking at those issues then, you know, when we say the numbers now, because they are increasing, this will obviously be an issue for higher education. I'm sure we'll address it with higher education at some point, but it's a positive sign going forward.
Most definitely. We feel that not only have we increased the number of matric passes, but the numbers that you showed earlier, the increase in the number of bachelor passes, those are university entrance passes, those are quality passes. If you look at Umalusi, the quality assurance body, one of the things that they made a note of is that there has been increased cognitive demand in a number of the question papers, meaning that the question papers are more difficult, and they have noted an increase in the quality of these examinations that we run as the Department of Basic Education. So for us, we're thrilled that especially Umalusi has noted the increase in quality, and we believe that the CAPS curriculum, because this is the second cohort of grade 12s that have written the CAPS curriculum, we're thrilled with the progress that they've made, and we do acknowledge that it is a more difficult curriculum. It is of a higher standard, and we're happy that the majority of learners are coping with it.
Maths and science, I mean, that has always been a contentious issue. Looking at this, it looks like the numbers are increasing.
And this is so positive for our country as a whole. You know, we keep saying, especially in the basic education sector, we say in the past we haven't produced enough maths and science graduates. They all get lapped up by medical schools and become actuarial scientists, engineers, accountants, BCom students, and not many of them want to come back and be maths teachers, and that's what we really need. So we're hoping that a large number of those will come back into the system and become maths teachers, because that's what we need as a country to even get more maths graduates, more engineers, more people to stimulate our economy.
Is it important, Zandile, to focus on maths and science? I mean, I've always been saying that it looks like we're putting, not maybe lack of a better word, pressure on students to go into maths and science, and at some point I feel like we're neglecting the other sectors. Is it important to focus on maths and science, in your opinion?
They are very important because those are the gateway subjects. When you excel in maths or science or both, I mean, it leads to many other opportunities going further in life. So as a country, we do need those skills, and we do need to put a bit more focus on them. Of course, not neglecting any other subject as well.
Is there that feeling, Troy, that, I mean, as we look at science under 10,000 passes that we've seen, is it that feeling that sometimes we tend to focus too much on maths and science, or is that the view that let's focus on maths and science now because they are the A subjects, if one can put it that way?
To be honest, I think we need to put more focus on maths and science. We need more learners throughout the country to take up maths and science and to excel in maths and science. If you look at what our country needs in terms of the economy, we need engineers, civil, mechanical, we need doctors, we need people who have those maths, have that maths ability to take up these scarce skills that we have in the country. So for us in the Department of Basic Education, we're saying we need an increased focus on maths and science, and we need to encourage even more learners to take up maths and science.
You spoke about the numbers that have increased. Are we seeing that increase in learners who sit down to write maths and science?
We are. We saw, as I said, the numbers this year were huge. They were the biggest in the history of our country in terms of the National Senior Certificate. So maths and science were also included in that. We had more learners writing maths than ever before, and science. And like we saw earlier with the numbers, we've had more passes in mathematics in particular. That's what we're particularly proud of our maths learners who've taken up maths. And you know, maths is one of those subjects that for some reason people are scared of it. And we want to demystify maths, and we want more learners to take it up as a subject because our country needs it.
Zandile, just briefly looking at the issue of maths and science, and then in going back to issue that you mentioned of quality of education, looking also at rural schools, do you feel that, that there is those opportunities at rural schools, you know, for kids to be exposed to maths and science?
The problem with rural schools is that they don't have labs. How can we fully want learners to actually fully engage in maths and science, particularly science as well, when they don't have labs? So those are the kind of things we need to look into, and that actually leads into the quality of those learners as well.
And how do we fix that?
We need to pump in more resources, particularly into the rural schools. Yeah.
All right, we will be continuing ka poledišano ya rena le baeng ba rena re lebeletše gore na ke eng se se ka diwa gore re kgone go lokiša mathata a re a bonang mo thutong ya Afrika Borwa. Poledišano ya rena ya tšwela pele ka morago ga mo. Re tšwela pele ka poledišano ya rena re lebeletše dithuto tša marematlou. Troy, as we wrap up, there is certain portions of society that feel that we do not have equal education in South Africa. How do we change that mindset? Or can I say, is there equal education in South Africa?
I think we definitely do have disparities in our education system that do still exist. I think it would be disingenuous to say that we're at a point in our history where we have equal education. We have schools, like we've mentioned, in our rural areas that don't have the adequate resources. But we are working hard as a department. We have the CD program, which is our Accelerated School Infrastructure Development Program, where we are building absolutely beautiful state-of-the-art schools in replacing mud schools and unsafe structures. And these schools are equipped with science labs, libraries, laboratories, and state-of-the-art equipment. And they actually look like, if you go to the Eastern Cape, for example, in Labode district, you'll see this very rural landscape. And then you see this structure there, which actually looks like a university amongst the setting. And it really gives us such hope. We've been delivering a school a week to replace these mud schools. And we believe that's one of the things that we can improve on. Obviously, other areas of infrastructure, such as sanitation, water, electricity, these are also issues that we are systematically addressing. Obviously, there are challenges that we can't fix overnight. They take time, but we are working hard to ensure that they are addressed.
Sandile, would you say there is equal education?
On paper, yes, but in reality, no. As the DBE has actually mentioned, we face a lot of challenges in the country. And where we actually pump in more resources, we will start seeing a difference. Where we can boost teacher morale, that will actually, you know, go to the students and boost them as well. So definitely, we are on the right track. We still have a very long way to go. We will congratulate the department for the work they've done. And we, as Equal Education, will be there right by the department, showing, you know, continuing with what we do. And it is an ongoing process.
What would you say are the big challenges now that if you had to advise the Department of Basic Education as to what to focus on, what would you say from Equal Education are the issues that they need to focus on to improve?
The problem with that is that each province has its own difficulties. In the Eastern Cape, we know it's the teacher numbers, it's the infrastructure. In Gauteng, it was sanitation. We're heading in a particular direction with that. We're pumping in more ICT into schools. In KZN, it's scholar transport. So, each province has its difficulties, and we are more than willing to help you to actually fix that.
And I mean, as we look at that, you look at provinces like Limpopo, 65.9 percentage. As you said, this is primarily rural schools, but it's a satisfactory number, if one can use that.
Well, obviously, we don't want any provinces to be below 60, and unfortunately, we are seeing provinces that are below 60. We believe that Limpopo has immense opportunity to improve. We have, like I said, they produce some of the best maths and science learners in the country. I think it is a positive story. However, I think they can do better. And I think those three rural provinces that are sitting at the bottom of the grid, we've seen issues like instability in the management or the leadership of those particular education departments. And we can see that it is having an effect. So like the Minister said yesterday, that we need to work with those provinces very closely to ensure that there is stability. We've embarked on massive teacher training initiatives, and we will continue to do that as measures to continue to improve the system and improve the quality of education. But we're happy overall.
Do you think that then Zandile, the infrastructure in your more urban provinces give them an advantage in that you will see the Western Capes obviously being more successful or leading most of the times when the results come out?
It does come with a certain advantage where teachers feel safer. They are more willing to give of themselves. Where maybe you have smaller classrooms, the learners themselves, they have more space to learn. But when you're cramped up in a small little room and there's 60 of you, nothing's going to happen.
When I did my Matric, there was 88 of us in class, yeah.
Wow.
But that was like 1980s back then. So 60 would have been a very good number for me. But then again, what would you say, Troy, are the challenges that you need to look at as the department and then tick off as time goes on?
Well, we're working very hard to address challenges such as infrastructure, like we've mentioned. Also, continuous teacher professional development. We have programs in place where we are continuing to train and retrain and improve the ability of our teachers to teach the new curriculum. Also, ICT and education, that's a big factor. We had Operation Pakisa last year, so we're looking forward to the outcome of that. We believe that can play a very positive role. If you look at Gauteng and the Western Cape, they both have very successful ICT programs in place, which were launched last year. Also, if you look at reading and language skills, we believe that we need to create a reading nation. That's one of the things that the Minister emphasized last night when she made the announcement as well, was we need to encourage learners, or not only learners, all of us. We need to encourage everyone to read to children, make use of public library facilities, and get our children reading.
All right. In 10 seconds, is 100% achievable?
Well, we don't believe that it's achievable, for example, next year, but we will continue to strive to improve.
Zandile, is it achievable?
It's a goal to work towards.
Is it achievable?
It's
Do you think
one
that
day
in the near future we will be able to say we are able to get a full 100% in South Africa?
One day, but not today.
Not today. Ladies, thank you very much for taking time to speak to us on Leihlo la Sechaba. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Re khathile temana ya lekgono a re kopaneng gape beke tlang ka 6 o'clock gona mo go SABC 2 e fela pele re kgaogana e re ke le gopotse nomoro ya le ya Second Chances Program 0800 202 973 e re ke ibušeletša gape 0800 202 973 Second Chances Program for barutwana ba ile gore ba rata go improve mo di subjects tša bona ga re tlogeleng gona mo o ka re ngwalela go Leihlo la Sechaba @sabc.co.za go ba romela fax o 086 613 1227 gape o ka re etela go Facebook. Please like our page on Facebook. Go kwa ka lenaneo la rena le latelang Theletša Lesedi FM, Motsweding FM le Thobela FM ka labone mesong go tloga ka iri ya senyane gabe khutšo le šebešebe go Maafrika Borwa ka moka.